My kingdom for a bungee. And 3, 2, 1.
Well, watcher, welcome back. Let's get back on a fire build in earnest. Today I want to put some fiberglass on this, make it a bit stronger, and do a little bit of preemptive blending before the filler stage. So let's get it off the bike, get it on the bench, start making it look proper. Alright, rope. Now this is, I just kind of flashed it over with some 40 grit paper just to knock off the sharp edges. If you've ever done this, you'll know that the resin, any little fluffy residue of fiberglass matting, or in this case cotton sheet, whatever, it will form a razor sharp little needles when it sets. So I've just knocked all those sharp edges off, made it a little bit more smooth and manageable, and at the same time let's keep it up a little bit ready to go. Right, now the next thing, before I start laying all this up with fiberglass, I want to look at the blending in process. I'm going to blend this into the tank. I don't want it sitting up top. At the moment it looks like it's plonked on top, which is how I intended it to be, but I want to blend it in. I want to make it look like part of the tank and follow the lines. The ZX7R is very much a rounded, blobby looking bike. It doesn't have sharp angular edges like today's Kawasaki's. It's an older, rounded, more muscular looking bike. And the nose cone thing with the Harley Davidson tank that I use, that's very much rounded and smooth as well. So this really can't be this sharp edge here. So the next task is to blend this in. Now, naturally the first thing you think is just whack a load of filler in there and blend it in, or mould it, as is the proper term. But filler is a bit funny. I'm using P38 plastic padding, which is effectively a flexible filler, but it's only flexible if it's thin enough. If it becomes more than about ½ an inch thick, that flexibility is compromised and it can crack. And also, right along this area here, it's not going to flex much. It's just that who wants to put an inch of filler all the way along? I think it's just a bit crap, really. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bridge it. You can buy a thing called bridging filler, and what it is fiberglass matting that's been shredded to its fibres. It's just a pile of literally the loose fibres, like fluff, and they mix that with a resin, or one part of the resin. You buy that as a filling stopper, and then you put the hardener in, mix it together, and you end up with a big gummy mess. But it's still quite heavy, and there's no need for it. I'm going to do something else. What I'm going to do is, from this area here at the back of the tank is very thin. I can use filler, I can make a nice job of that. But from here, where there's a 90-degree edge there, and kind of a 45-degree edge there, I'm going to bridge out. I'm going to fill up this edge a little bit here with some hemp rope. Now that sounds a bit stupid, but it's just a really super lightweight. It doesn't weigh anything. I can stick that on there, bond it in, fiberglass over it, and it'll be permanent and forgotten and immortalised in there forever. And it'll be a really lightweight solution. And then I can put just a thin skin of filler over the top. If you're doing any bodywork yourself, you know the less filler, the better. No filler at all is good, but this is moulding and customising. It's a pretty cool thing. So in that sense, I have to kind of sometimes resort to bodgery. Is it bodgery? Hell yeah, who cares? It's custom biking, and you can do whatever you like with custom biking. There are no rules. Nobody says what you can or can't do. As long as you do it to the best of your ability, you do it correct as far as the chemicals and everything else are concerned, and you do it safely. Who really cares? It's all about custom bikes, making it your own, stamping your own mark on it, blah, blah, blah. Right, I'm going to get on with this. I'm going to just bond that along there in the same way that I bonded the t-shirt stuff on, and once that's in and solid, quick rope resin over the top just to set it. And once that's done, then I can fiberglass those sides in and then start getting a layer of fiberglass over the whole thing to strengthen it up. Right, let's get going. little fast forward there, just to get things done. Now I couldn't do this inside. What I did is took this outside, just put it outside and hit it with a 40 grit flat disc, just a nasty old cheap one, and just kind of shaped it. But it's honestly, it is so messy. It sends dust everywhere. So I did it outside so as to protect all this from getting shrouded in dust. And obviously what it's done is highlight, where are we? Here. Highlight the little high spots, so that will get filled. Not with filler, I'm just going to re-fiberglass this now. There's no fiberglass on this top bit yet, here, but I've just blended these in. There's the rope underneath there, soaked in resin and rock solid. Gone in there with the sander. Great thing is, because the sanding wheel is circular, you can kind of put it in there and angle it to the right place, and you can just wile it down there like that, and it cuts the perfect curve. So almost I've got the shape, almost got the shape, and that's purely in one layer of fiberglass. You know, the least materials possible. Got a bit of repair to do where I've gone through. Obviously that was, this metal edge here and here were proud, so just ground those down. Great thing with a 40mm disc, and that one as well on the back, that profile on the back was kind of sticking out like that, which is no good. And rather than fill it, I've just ground it back. Just touched a few areas, took the paint out, but nothing serious, literally just a touch. 40mm grit disc, or sorry, 40 grit disc is a bit aggressive. So just concentrate, get out the front there, front of the garage and get it done. On the front there, I've just made that solid, kept that thing right. I just wanted to show you a few of this. A few of you reached to this point about sealing inside there. Let's come down, hang on. Here it is. Let's see if I can just do it that way. Right. Now this is the drain bolt that goes right out the front of the tank. A few of you are saying, what if you spill petrol down there, it will get in under the sealant. What I did when I was doing this was, you see the amount of resin that's laying in the back here. All this is about 1/4 inch thick solid resin in there, and that's all right, there's nothing wrong with that. And I did the same there. Up against the tape, I put about 1/4 inch thick. I poured it in, and it literally ran down inside. Capillary action spread it to the side. So that's reasonably coated with resin all the way down. But look, if it's not, it's really not going to do any harm, because if it comes out here, even if this little bit of bonding agent becomes softened by the small spillage, I'm not like to put a gallon of fuel in there, am I? We're only talking about the odd dribble or whatever in the petrol station, so it's not an issue. But if it does, it might soften that a little bit, and then it'll reharden again. Because ultimately all this resin in here, it's all sealed. It's going to be sealed coming out the front there as well. No issues. So I hope I've answered that one. Right, now the next thing, prepare some more resin, prepare some more matting. And I'm going to prepare little strips of matting this time, rather than long pieces, because I've done the shape, and all I want to do now is skin it up and make it thick and robust and solid, and get around the inside. So I need little thin strips that I can dab in, and then 3 or 4 cups of resin prepared, with the hardener prepared, so I can just make them, and do it all in one take, so that the whole lot's done. And then when that's half gone off, a final layer of resin, and then we'll be able to call that done and leave it 48 hours for the body filler, which hopefully, if I can get it right, will be very, very minimal. I want virtually no body filler in this at all, just a little bit, just to smooth it off and give a paintable finish. Anyway, enough extraneous waffle, let's get cracking. Right, okay, now in real time that was 3.5 hours just since I put it on the bench and put you above it. 3.5 hours, little bit by little bit, laying it up. There's about 3 full thicknesses now of fiberglass on there, and it is a heavy duty fiberglass. You may have noticed it's not the thin tissue stuff, it's pretty rough, and it will do the job. Now, at this point it needs about, it's red hot now. Obviously when this stuff cures it gets hot. A few of you made the point about hardener being, about if you put too much hardener in it gets extremely hot and it can catch fire. I never had that happen. I have seen it at certain places, and I know that resin factories can catch light. So just be conscious of everything you're doing for safety. When I said in the last video, put a lot of hardener in, do a hot load, at the most twice as much if you're doing this resin. This, I don't know, you know, some of you have asked me, is it a polymer or is it an epoxy? To be quite honest, I'm not a chemist, I don't know. I'm just a monkey with some spanners and I just get on with it. So to be honest, that's warm now. And when I'm working with it, I'm in a yogurt pot. It's not even warm. And when it goes on the job, it's kind of warm, like a sunny day, but it ain't hot and certainly ain't gonna smoke. So pretty safe. Anyway, what it's got to do now, I'm gonna let that set or cure for about an hour while I go and have a brew, and then with the 40 disc, I'm going to just take all the fluffy hairy bits off. This stuff, you can't bend it around a corner when it's wet because it just lifts up and you get air bubbles underneath it. Strictly speaking, you should use a roller and you should roll it down, then you roll all the air out. But if you're doing a, you know, like a boat hull or something that needs to float so you don't die, then obviously that's the case. But this is just, you know, it's a decoration, so it doesn't really matter too much. But that's all on there. There's masses of it on. There's a whole litre of hardener, and I've got one little quantity of resin left. Whole litre of resin, I mean. I've got one little bit left, probably about an inch in the bottom of that pot. And I'm going to save that because I'm going to go over this whole thing after, once it's cured, with the sander, clean it all up because it looks disgusting at the moment, and then give it one clean coat of resin all the way over to make everything smooth and solid, and then it'll get probably 2 to 3 days to fully cure all the way through before we can move on to the filler. Let's go and have a brew. Right, there we are. So one sealing coat of gel left to do, that's it. It's absolutely lovely now. It's practically the finished shape, which means all it needs from filler is just evening out, just symmetry, which is the carving and sculpting side of it. As far as, there's no need now to build up any of it. It's all built up to the level it needs to be, and I'm comfortably happy with the shape. Really nice, really organic. Can't really do a lot until, can't really put any filler on until all this is cured. So one more coat, make it shiny. Right, let's give you a half decent look. So there we are, sum total of today. Dead chuffed with the symmetry, it's looking good. The curvature each side was important, so I want it to blend in with the tank. I'm going to do a little bit more of this kind of wobbly stuff here. I'm not bothered about that. I could have put a hard line, bit of tape, and then ground that back, I don't know. But a couple of places I've just touched this with the grinder, so I'm not going to do any more, not going to risk any more. I'm just going to fill and blend. And I'm looking at literally a 2mm thick skin filler, just enough to smooth everything out. It's only going to get a skin. Very little filler going to go on this. There's 3 layers of proper heavy duty thick matting and loads of resin. Other ways you can do it, yeah, I could have used a roller. Oh yeah, I'm sure loads of you would tell me how I could have done it. And I always appreciate that. I mean that sincerely, because you learn from these things. But I'm happy with that for now. Bit of a mess, bit ugly now, looks horrible. But in a couple of days, when that's all set and gone off, I can start the filler. Right, I'm going to call that done now. 10 past 4. 6 hours of this. That's a long old job. Came in at 10 o'clock this morning, 10 past 4 now, and I think that's a good job. I wanted to blend it into the tank a little bit more rather than have it sat on top like it was looking, and I've got that. I'm really chuffed with it. I didn't want to do it with filler because filler is really heavy and not particularly very secure. It's quite fragile, and the thicker it is, the more prone it is to crack, so virtually not going to need any now. The rope trick thing was purely a case of wanting something light that doesn't weigh anything, that I can stick down, is the right shape, and I can resin it. Really and honestly, there's no reason for it other than that. It's just what I had there in the box, a bit of rope, that'll do it. It could have just been just as soon a bit of tubing or something, anything, but there it is, it's done, it's in there, and you'll never see it again. All I've got to do with it now is a thin skin of filler over the whole thing and stand back and do the symmetry. It's pretty symmetrical now, pretty level as I showed you, but I just want to get it absolutely bang on and blend it right the way down here so that it's completely part of the tank, all one part of it. I'm going to take into consideration this curve and this curve. You see what I'm doing? That the two of them will work together. I'm going to try and create this to look like one piece, not just a console added to a tank. I want to make it look like a tank that is multi-designed, different layers and facets, just a little bit of creative, artistic design, just a little bit of buddy, really nothing special. So there we are, I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks ever so much for watching. Really appreciate your kind consideration on this. I know it's a long drawn out project, but hopefully you can get a little bit from it and do some of the stuff yourself in your garage. 6 hours. What are we on? Day 29. This is day 20, and it's not video 29 because I've done a few things in between, but 30 days almost on this, which if you're doing it in one go, isn't so bad really. You can get this far within a month, but this is a long project because we're doing it for YouTube. So there we go. Enough waffle, I'm going to shut up, call it done. Leave you with a wall of friends. Take it easy, right safe. See you next time.